All right, guys. So I'm making this video on how to pay off your student loans in 2020. So just talking about what the best method is to be able to pay off your student loans. And so I personally have student loans from going to school, from going to college, doing my undergrad. And my goal this year is to pay them off. So I'm going to explain how what steps to take to be able to pay these loans off quickly and get it out of the way. As you know, there's a big crisis with how much debt students are in, just based on how costly education is nowadays, and how freely student loans are given out to 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, that accumulate debt, anywhere from, $10,000 to $15,000 every year, and then that balloons up because of such a high interest rate. We're talking about 7, 8, 9% interest rates on these student loans. So it's definitely, almost an epidemic, you could think of it. It's a crisis that, I think there's about $1 trillion in student loan debt, and the default rates are probably going to continue to grow, because I personally know several people I went to school with, or friends of friends, that have $100,000 in debt, and unfortunately they're not earning enough to be able to even pay the interest payments on these loans, because the interest payments themselves are close to $500-600 a month. And you may earn only $45,000 to $50,000 salary. It's very difficult, with living expenses, with rent rates being so high, with other bills nowadays. It's difficult to do so. But the way that I've been planning on paying this off is actually using something from Dave Ramsey. So if you want to go look at his channel, he goes through something called a debt snowball effect. So what you want to do, to be able to pay things off, a lot of times, a regular CPA or somebody else is going to tell you, somebody in the finance world, pay off the highest interest loans first and then work your way down. So pay anything off that has 9%, or usually it's credit cards that 15 or 20% interest. Pay those off first, and then work on paying off your 9% interest rates. Then maybe your car loan that's 4%, and then maybe a house loan that's 2%, or sorry, 3%. That's what typically most people would assume is the right way of doing it, and I agree. Technically, that is the right way of doing it, but we're not, we're humans, and it doesn't work for us sometimes. The best method of doing this is, a method that I used, like in studying almost during college, was you try to get through the easy stuff first, so then you build confidence to be able to do the harder things, almost like training for a marathon. You'll train for the easy, and you'll train smaller increments to build up to the behemoth. In video games, same thing, right? You play Mario, Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario 64, you beat out the little bosses before you go beat the big boss. So you build confidence, you build that training. So what you want to do is the same identical thing. Is you actually want to pay off, and this is a strategy I used, and I'm using right now to pay off my student loans. At this point, was I paid off everything else that was a lower incremental amount. So I had, I didn't have any credit card debt, luckily, but I did have a car loan. We bought a brand new Honda Accord last year, and there was a loan of $20,000 on the Honda Accord, and that was my lowest amount of debt that I had to my name. Was a single. I didn't have any credit card debt, so the only thing I had was a car loan for $20,000. So last year, I decided to take money out of my savings, whatever money I had, and pay that down. Just completely get rid of it. Even though I had maybe it was like 3 or 4% interest rate. It wasn't a high interest rate, a crazy high interest rate, but I wasn't going to earn that anyways in the bank account, and even a CD was going to earn you 2%. So it just made sense to knock that out. So I got rid of the $20,000 loan right away. Within a month, I made like a $10,000 payment, and then I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to pay it off. So I made another $10,000 payment. So I got rid of that. The next one was another student loan that was actually in my name. It was a regular subsidized loan, I believe, and it was for $25,000. So I ended up paying that off next. That was the next thing that was on my list to be able to pay off. So I got rid of that. There was no need, for me to hold on to that, even though that was at like 6.5%, and I had cash left. So last year, sometime in June, I believe, I just completely, it might have been later, a couple months later, but I completely just paid it off. I did the same thing. I put $5,000 one month, or that first like 2-3 weeks, and then I'm like, all right, I got to get through it now. I'm just going to pay another 10,000, and then I paid another 10,000. So I just kept paying it down and knocking that loan down. But I only focused on one loan at a time. So you want to focus on one loan at a time and focus on the one that is the lowest payment. I'm sorry, the lowest total principal due. And that builds up the confidence. And this is purely a confidence thing. This is not the most financially sensible route of going, but the issue is we are not sensible when we're getting debt either. Because if you were sensible, you would have never got. You probably would have been a little bit smarter, and unfortunately, I would have been smarter about my loans, and I wouldn't have gotten $100,000 in student loan debt, right? I probably would have figured a way out to work through college even more and paid off the debt, or maybe tried to, work to get more scholarships or whatever it might have been. But it's not sensible when I got the loans, and it's not sensible when we're kind of paying it back. But this is the right way, and the way that will build up your confidence to be able to pay the loans off. So I paid off the $20,000 loan. Then I paid off, the $20,000 loan on my car. I paid off Great Lakes, which was one of the lenders that the federal government uses, the $25,000 last year as well. And then now, the loan I had left, and I was a total loan, my student loans, I had a $25,000, and it ballooned up to $108,000. So I had 108 plus 25. So I was in debt for 130,000. Stupid. I mean, it was ridiculous. I've gotten that $108,000 loan down to 89,000 as of today, right now. Now, my plan to pay this off is I've had an investment in a house, which has gotten me good returns over the last 3 years. I purchased the house for like $260,000. I lived in it for like a year and a half, and the rest of the time I rented it out. And I'm actually able to sell the house today because the market's so hot. And in my belief, I'm able to, in my belief, I think we're hitting a peak in the housing market. And I think the elections will somewhat shake the market up, the 2020 elections. So I'm going to cash out of that house. So I'm going to make, with the amount that I have left in the loan, I'm going to make about $70,000 in the house with everything paid off, with paying off the agent's commissions, etc. Now I have $89,000 left on the loan, and I have $70,000 cash coming in. I could go and spend that $70,000, buy a new car and buy this and go on vacation and do whatever. But no, because now that I've built the tolerance to pay off the loan, I'm going to take my $70,000 I'm going to make on my house, and I'm actually just going to pay it off onto my student loan. So I'm going to take, my dog keeps trying to bug me, so I keep looking down. He wants me to pet him. But I'm going to take the $70,000 and pay it down on the $89,000 student loan that I have. And I'm going to bring the $89,000 down to $19,000, and then I'm going to save up a little bit more money over the next month or two, or a couple months here, and I'm going to pay it down. So that's the debt snowball effect, and that, in my opinion, is probably the fastest and the cleanest way of being able to gain enough confidence to pay off the student loan. If I just made regular payments towards my student loans, I believe my $100,000 loan I would have paid in the next like 12 to 15 years, I would have paid close to $500,000, and I just wasn't up for that. I'd rather take $400,000 over the next, $400,000 difference that I'm going to pay in interest because I'm paying it off slowly. I'm going to take that money and I'm actually just going to invest it or do whatever, but I'm definitely not going to give that to the government or give it to Navient or whatever. I'm not going to give it to any of these lenders and and not pay it off, like if I can. So I suggest watching some videos from Dave Ramsey, and I'll try to post them in the description, and then ask some questions down here at the bottom about your student loan, or if you want me to clarify anything, I'll put it down in the description. I'd like to hear from other folks that have the same issue, going through the same dilemma. Went to college, have a ton of student loan debt, don't know what to do, and how are you going to pay it off? For me, I'm using the debt snowball effect. Google it, you'll figure out how to do that. Might be a little bit better explanation than how I explained it, but the goal is to pay off the debt that is the least amount that you have towards anything. If you have a single credit card from Chase or Capital One, one is $2,000, one is $1,000. Pay the $1,000 off first, then pay the $2,000 credit card debt, then pay your car loan, and then pay the student loans. That will build up your confidence, and then you can take all of your energy and just pound at that one loan, and you will be able to knock it out. So that's the way I've done it, and hopefully you guys like this video. Like it and thumbs up, and then subscribe to the channel as well. I'll try to post more videos like this if you guys enjoyed it. All right, thanks everyone.